Space Coconut.
Okay, today we're going to talk about the Deathslinger. We're going to have a little analysis because that's what you guys voted on. At the end of this video, we'll have a little something extra, but you don't need to stick around if you don't want to. So, there are a lot of people who are saying that he's not as good as Huntress. The problem with comparing him to the Huntress like this is comparable to comparing Hillbilly with Oni. Their powers are similar in that they have a projectile. But the way those powers are used and the way that you should use those powers are very, very different. Now, me as a hag main, I don't have any, I'm not in any kind of position to talk about whether the Slinger is better or worse or equally matched with the Huntress or vice versa, because I'm not an expert with the Huntress, and nobody, including myself, is an expert with the Deathslinger. So let's talk about how the Deathslinger should be used and why comparing him to the Huntress is not a good idea. Now, True Talent has made several comments and statements in videos talking about how someone would pick the Deathslinger over the Huntress, and his main argument for this is the speed of the chase, the speed, how quickly you can down a survivor. And we need to remember that the Huntress is very straightforward. You hit them with the axe, and they're going to go down. If she has a quick recovery with her hatchet weapon, with her power. So the ideal way to get a survivor down when they're close is to hit them with the thrown hatchet, wait for that recovery, and then hit them with your melee attack. Now here's the thing, is that's a tactic that's specific to the Huntress. Comparably, or on the flip side, if we're talking about the Deathslinger, his tech is that you want to use his power after the survivor is already injured. So in any instance that somebody will give you an example of why the Huntress is better than the Deathslinger, if you see that player use the Deathslinger's power on a fully healed survivor, then you know that that player is not using the Deathslinger optimally. And that's a very, very important note, because you use the Deathslinger's power against a healthy survivor. There's only one of two outcomes that's going to happen. You're going to break the chain on purpose, and they're going to get away without being injured, or you're going to reel them in and hit them, and they're going to get the deep wound status effect, or the chain breaks by them struggling, and they get the deep wound status effect. No matter what, A, they get injured, B, they get the deep wound status effect. This is if you use it on a healthy survivor. Again, if you see a player use the Deathslinger's power against a healthy survivor first, you know that they are not playing this killer optimally. Much in the same way that you wouldn't, if the survivor was close by, you wouldn't hit, as the Huntress, you wouldn't hit them with your main weapon and then with a hatchet under normal circumstances, depending on the situation, but the tech that we're talking about is power and then melee. Power and then M1. For Deathslinger, it's opposite. And the reason I bring this up, this little nuance, this little really not important piece of information, is because nobody knows how to use the Deathslinger optimally right now. He's brand new. He isn't even out yet. We don't even know what tweaks they're going to make to his power. And Scott Jund made another video talking about how the weapon is very inaccurate for the precision that is required to use it. It's a very, very well done video, and it makes a lot of sense. However, it doesn't mean that the killer is weak. It just means that the power is kind of wonky, and there are some situations, there are some things that need to be adjusted and tweaked. Now, another problem that True Talent has brought up in regards to the Deathslinger, which I agree, is that he doesn't have much map pressure. However, we have perks to solve this problem. My favorite gen slowdown combination is both Dying Light and Pop Goes the Weasel. Those two combined can basically shut down an endgame. Now, because of the way balance and generators and all of that nonsense works right now, early game is kind of a nightmare for every single killer. There's literally nothing you can do about it. 2 gens are going to go off before you get 2 survivors down, unless those 2 survivors are screwing around. So what do you do in this case? You focus on the end game. You put your focus past that point, and you think about what other tools do you have available to compensate for the killer's weaknesses. It's kind of the same thing as saying, because the hag is so slow, you should always use play with your food because it's going to give you the speed boost that you're going to need in order to catch up to survivors. That's correct to an extent, but that's if you don't use their power, right? So here's an important thing to take away from this video. Right now, nobody knows how to play him. Nobody knows his optimal perk setup, which I believe Dying Light is probably going to be really good. Because of Deep Wounds, you're probably going to want to play with the healing bit, right? Those things combined, finding the right synergies, finding your right playstyle, and mastering the gun, figuring out its nuances, when to use it, when not to use it, how to reel survivors in around pallets or how to not, how to prevent the chain from being broken, around pallets. There are a lot of different things that people haven't practiced with, that haven't tried yet, that that needs to be practiced, that needs to be discovered, and it's really too early to say. Anybody who tells you, definitively that the killer is bad or worse than another killer before really understanding and knowing how to use that killer at their preferred rank, maybe they shouldn't be making that statement, right? But here's what I would like to say. If you're good with him, I think the Deathslinger is probably as good as the Huntress. Now, of course, like I said, it means nothing because I'm not very good with the Huntress or the Deathslinger, but that's my take on it. You figure out how to use his power, you find his weaknesses, use perks to plug up those weaknesses, and then polish everything up with your playstyle and skill, and I think you're looking at a pretty decent killer. But, this is just me having a dissenting opinion compared to other people who've, played a little bit longer than me. Well, that's my take on it. I really like the Deathslinger. And I like the idea of him reloading on the move rather than having to reload at a locker. I like how nuanced his power is, where you have to make a decision whether to or to not use the power. Are you going to give the person the Deep Wound status effect and let them go and chase after somebody else? Or, are you going to chase that person down and, do something else? His power is much more dynamic than the Huntress's is. So he has that going for him. But we won't know for sure how good he is or, all of that other stuff until later when people actually have used him for a while. As of right now, I would really suggest picking him up. If you have the shards, pick him up. He's gonna be fun, if anything else. He's probably the funnest killer right now, just because of how different his playstyle is. It's very dynamic. It's very fun. It's very interesting. Of course, me being who I am, I really suggest not using Auric Cells or buying it with money. Use your shards, save your money. But that's just me, and you know me. So anyway, let me know what you think about my opinion, about what you think about all of this, and let's have a little discussion, because I think this is kind of a fun one, because he's not bad. He is not a bad killer. If the devs slow down his ADS and make aiming slower, then he's gonna be bad. But until they do that, right now he's pretty good. He's pretty okay. I don't think he's bad. I don't think he's great. But I don't think it's easy to say if he's better or worse than any particular killer until people actually have had practice with him for more than a couple of days. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm going to sneak in a little bit of Tarkov in the end of this, so if you're interested in watching that, stick around. If not, I'll see you later. But until next time, I'll see you in the fog. Okay, I don't know where to go. I'm gonna hide in the box. Where can I go? Where can I go? That way? No, that way? Oh, I'm dead.